The Chronojet Rideline is finally here, and with it shows us how we're going to attain the Chronojet Crest, and to some extent it is a bit worrisome and a bit disappointing, but for overdress it's pretty damn nice. And on top of everything, we also got two new very interesting promos for Kaguro and Spike Brothers. Stand up! Vanguard! Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to another Cardfight update, and today it's a very exciting one because we continue where we left off last time. We've got some more Chronojet Strike deck set reveals for the upcoming encounter deck for Chronojet in Overdress. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's first take a look at the two new promos for V Premium, and then we can use the rest of the video to delve into these new cards for Chronojet aka Gear Chronicle. So first off, we got a new Kaguro promo for V Premium, which is Flare Trooper Dumjit. Yes, Dumjit is returning to Vanguard once again, and just like its previous counterpart, it's a new Perfect Guard, a new Sentinel for Kaguro. In this case, it has the abilities Auto Rigard Circle. When your Vanguard is attacked, cost Soul Blast 1 and move this unit to the Guardian Circle. But it also has the effect, Auto, when this unit is put on the Guardian Circle, cost discard a card from your hand, choose one of your units, and it cannot be hit until the end of that battle. So it has the specific put clause, which means if you use this other effect to move it to the Guardian Circle, you can use the Perfect Guard effect regardless, and then still have a Sentinel. Now, you might think to yourself, what's the point of this effect? Because it's basically a different type of Sentinel that you can call in the field, but what's the point of that? Well, the great thing about this effect is that it circumvents certain Sentinel guard restrict, because most of them basically say, or if not all of them, basically say you cannot place a Sentinel from hand. That doesn't say you cannot use them as interceptors, and with an effect like this, it can circumvent those effects, which is nice because Dumjit is all about protecting himself, so this is a nice addition to the Sentinel effect. But it also has some other applications, because now it can also synergize with Kaguro's Blaze mechanic, as you can put more cards on the field, so you can therefore have more riggers than your opponent. And this can also interact very nicely with Lawkeeper, because you can flood the board more easily without losing any guard potential. So overall, Dumjit is a very interesting new Perfect Guard. Will be used widespread within Kaguro? Probably not, but this could be a nice card as a tech choice against certain meta calls, or maybe a specific build that can abuse this effect. So overall, a very nice promo, and I hope we're gonna see it in the English format as soon as possible. We also got a new Spike Brothers promo, which had everybody lose their mind on initial release, or reveal should I say, but the more and more you look at this card, the more and more it feels like it's kind of okay, and it's a bit oversold for my opinion, but let's take a look at the card and you will understand what I'm talking about. So here we have a brand new grade 2 for Spike Brothers, which is Jumbo the Stun Gun. And this card has the effect Auto. When the unit's put on the Guardian Circle, so again a defensive card here, cost Counter Blast 1 and Soul Blast 3, choose one of your opponent's front row units and move all of the force markers on your opponent's circle to that unit's circle. So where Spike Brothers usually was passing their own circles around from one unit to another unit so you can get the maximum value, in this case you use that to minimize the value of your opponent's side of the field, because if they stack everything on one unit, then they attack with the unit. You can use this to then swap all those force markers to another unit in the front row that hopefully already attacked, so they cannot abuse the value of these force markers, and therefore easily guard those other attacks. Now, this could be nice against like cards that can multi-attack on a singular marker, like any Restender. So it depends on the matchup if this is actually going to be useful. Now, most of the players were immediately talking about, oh, this will counter Astral Poets and Valkyrian because you remove all the markers from the Vanguard Circle, thus shutting down the whole mechanic. The thing is, however, is that it's probably not as easy to fulfill this, because the Valkyrian player can either just negate damage deny the Spike Brother player, so they will get the more free markers they need on turn 3 and just basically win that turn, because Valkyrian can easily just 0 to 6 somebody on the first grade 3 turn if they went first and just OTK the opponent. And then a card like this doesn't really do anything, because yes, you can then mid-battle move those markers, but if they sit on the new Uranus, that doesn't matter. They already opened the astral plane, and until the end of turn, it will stay there. Now, if they are on a different grade 3, that's a different story. but if they sit on the correct Vanguard, this doesn't do all too much. Now, of course, the cost of this card is pretty heavy, but it has some built-in resource engine in the likes of the secondary skill, which is auto rigor circle once a turn. If a force marker is put on this unit circle, soul charge 1, and if you did not counter charge this turn, counter charge 1. Now, I'm not too familiar with Spike Brothers to know if this effect or the combination of these two effects will grant this card to be played in the deck, because on its own it doesn't facilitate any aggression play or aggro combo potential. It's just either resources, or you use those resources for a defensive play that might or might not even matter depending on what type of deck you're facing. Because also keep in mind, against non-force decks, this card does absolutely nothing. It does nothing against Protect, it does nothing against Exile. It specifically works against Force decks, and if you're in a meta where Force isn't all too prevalent, then this card actually doesn't do all too much. Now, with those two promos out of the way, let's take a look at the new Gear Chronicle Rideline and see what we're going to do once we ride up to Chronojet. Now, first off, a Chronojet Rideline, of course, needs to start with the best starter in the game, which is, of course, Chronodren himself. And Chronodren, sadly, has the generic starter skill, so this means it doesn't allow you to create the crest, which is very problematic, because that means the crest is going to be a bit RNG in premium, as seen as we're not guaranteed to get it, unlike something like a monster box, for example. So that is a bit of a disappointment. What is interesting, however, unlike the V counterpart, this Chronodren does have the ZTB race tag. So that means we might get ZTB cards in the future, or at the very least Bushiroad acknowledge ZTBs being a thing again, and we might get maybe ZTB support in the future, thus powering up the ZTB mechanic and archetype in the premium landscape. We just have to wait and see how this will pan out, because this is the only ZTB we've seen so far. Now, moving forward, we have the grade 1, which is Mazer Gear Dragon, and Mazer Gear Dragon has the effect, although when units placed by riding from Chronodren, draw a card, and you get a Chronojet Dragon Crest. So this is the way how we get the crest. Now in standard, this doesn't mean anything. It's basically you will always get the crest as early as we thought we would, because I already explained in the previous video. You're probably gonna get the crest on turn 1 or somewhere in that ballpark to make sense of all your skills. And we see it right here, on turn 1 you get the crest. Now on top of that, you also get the draw, which means you get more draw power. Like if you went second, you draw off Chronodren and you draw off this card, so you go +2 on turn 1, and you also get the Chronojet Dragon Crest, which isn't that bad if we're gonna be honest. Now in premium, this is a bit worrisome, because that means this is the only way to get the crest. And we have no way of searching this card in the early game, or even searching in general. So it's a bit RNG-ish, and as soon as we only get one copy of this thing per stride deck set, that means if you want to play this strategy or this high roll thingy in premium, you'll probably need to buy 4 stride deck sets, which it doesn't sound all too appealing. So this is a bit of an iffy situation where I don't know how this will pan out and how expensive this card is going to be, seeing as it's a one-off in a product where we probably need 4 of the card if you want to play this thing. So yeah, that's a thing we need to worry about, and I wonder how much of a shit show this is going to be. Well, with that said, let's move on to the grade 2, as this is essentially just a draw engine, and now we want to see what's happened if we go up one more grade. And for the grade 2 of the Rideline, we of course have Smoke Gear Dragon, and Smoke Gear Dragon has the effect, although when the unit is rode upon by a grade 3 with Chronojet in its card name, cost Soul Blast 1, search your deck for up to 1 grade 3 unit card, reveal it, and put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. So it's a grade 3 searcher. Now, interesting enough, because of the stride mechanic, this will search out a stride discard fodder right the moment you need it, because you ride Chronojet, now you search your grade 3, and you can discard it and stride it, if you went second, of course. Which is great, because that means you have pure consistency of moving all the way up to your stride turn, which is great, because sometimes in the Jira, you need the G-assist for a grade, or maybe you didn't even have stride fodder to even do your stride plays. This Rideline fixes that whole issue by always securing that stride fodder regardless of which situation you find yourself in. But with that said, if you look at the whole Rideline, there's a lot of plussing going on, because if you win second, you get a plus of Chronodren. If you just ride Mazer Gear Dragon, you get another +1. If you get ride Smoke Gear into Chronojet Dragon, you get another +1. So that's already +3 built in the Rideline if you went second, or either +2 if you went first. But don't forget, we can search any grade 3 card. So if we search out a Bali, and we discard Bali for the Stride, you draw another card of Bali's effect because we discarded for Stride, which means you either go +3 or even +4 if you went second with this Rideline just built in, which honestly is pretty good. But if you think about it, a +3 go from your Rideline alone, that is a pretty high substantial value, because most Ridelines either give you +1 or +2, a little bit of pressure, but usually that early game pressure, if it's just in the form of buff numbers, doesn't really mean anything. In this case, we just go for raw value, which honestly is pretty nice, while at the same time also opens up for a certain interaction or certain engines to be slotted in with Chronojet. Because Smoke Gear Dragon specifically says choose up to 1 grade 3 unit card. So that means we can play any one of grade 3 that is very good in a specific situation, and then we can just pop off. This means we can just play one Bali for just discard for the draw and just keep it at that and run other grade 3s that are better in generic situations or generic scenarios. Or we might have a specific combo that requires a specific grade 3 rear guard, and then in this instance we can search out that grade 3 thanks to Smoke Gear Dragon. So honestly, this card can scale very effectively in the future with more and more support. And with Dark States being the whole thing around it, that means we have a lot of potential, because we already have quite a sizable grade 3 pool with rearguard effects, and it will only grow and grow and grow, because most of the Dark States Vanguards rely on rearguard pressure. Think of Baron Magnus, think of Greedon, think of Bruce. These are all rearguard specific, or at least in Greedon's case it's mainly Vanguard, but the rearguards enable the Vanguard to do stuff. So who knows how far this card can go. So overall, the Rideline for Chronojet Dragon is very simplistic and not very revolutionary in the fact that it has some interesting combo potential or some synergies. It's essentially just draw, 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 draw. But honestly, that's completely fine, because that means we will have a high consistency deck with all the extra drawing, and thanks to Smoke Gear's grade 3 searching, this opens up the possibility of future potential with other grade 3 rearguards that could have some very nice interactions. And don't forget, we do have the effect of the crest that allows us to turn grade 3s either in grade 0s or grade 1s, I don't remember correctly, but that then opens up for other possibility here. So I'm very curious of how this will pan out and what the options are moving forward, and we don't have to wait long, because on Thursday, which I think is tomorrow from this video, we will get Upstream and Gigi, and then next Tuesday we will get Fate Rider, the first Stride unit to be revealed, and I cannot wait to what it can do, because I think the Fate Rider card is the main reason why we can turn grade 3s into lower grades, because then we can turn those probably into higher grades during the battle phase. So I'm very curious of how this will pan out, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds for Chronojet. But with that said, that's basically everything that I want to discuss today. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about these cards. Do you think the Rideline is very awesome? Do you think it's a pretty strong Rideline? Or are you a bit disappointed because you were hoping for something different? Is the crest attaining with Mesa Gear a bit of a tricky thing? Are you worried about that? What for impact it could have in premium? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below, because honestly, there is a lot to discuss. And didn't even mention the 2 promo cards. Do you think Dumjet is better or worse than I initially think? Or do you think the Spike Brother promo is actually insanely strong and I'm completely overlooking the card with the negative aspect that it might bring to the clan? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, this video has been brought to you by lovely patrons over at patreon.com/FangInsider. You guys are amazing. If you do want to support the channel or everything that's happening on the channel, you can simply go to patreon.com/FangInsider and become a patron today. But with that said, I've missed a time leap, and I'll see you guys in the next one!